Today we are most privileged to have back with us someone we love to claim as our own, Dr. Melanie Dean. And Melanie is going to be speaking with us about the three gifts. Maybe magic for yourself happen. Is that close? My eyes aren't what they used to be. We all know Melanie to be a delightful individual, but she's also a very trained behavioral scientist who works with other specialties of science to develop an understanding of her truth in the larger scheme of things. And she put those truths that she has understood in her book, The Secret Power of Emotion. And that work has been acclaimed and awarded some literary accolades. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. So we're very happy to have her with us today. Let's give a warm welcome to Melanie.
Good morning. It's so good to be speaking here in my community. Many of you I know and love, so thank you for inviting me. I'm Dr. Melanie Dean, as Doug said, and I'm author of the book, The Hidden Power of Emotions. It has won a couple of awards, thank you. And my passion and purpose in life is to help you and others understand that your emotions are real energy and they're more powerful than you think. Today, I am going to touch on three gifts that make magic for yourself and others. Because we all desire the emotions of peace and purpose and passion and joy and happiness. Those are emotions we all want for ourselves. And yet, life brings us curveballs individually, perhaps medically, circumstances in our lives, family circumstances, or larger community circumstances, perhaps political, that all pull us very far afield from peace, joy, purpose. We get lost. So we can end up very far from that which we emotionally desire. So today I'm going to be talking about three gifts that you give yourself. And science has a pathway that helps us to understand that if you employ these three gifts that are scientifically have support, you will be able to live your life with a sense of peace and joy, contentment and purpose and passion, regardless of your circumstances. It doesn't mean you won't get difficult circumstances, right? Because difficult circumstances just happen because we're in life. But it means you can navigate them and you can live in a place of peace and purpose and power. So the three gifts are, the first gift that we're going to talk about is giving grace to yourself, giving loving kindness to yourself. That's the first gift. The second gift is giving grace to others. Now you'd say, okay, well, you pointed your fingers at yourself when you said give grace to others. And so I am saying that's true. Remember, these are three gifts you give yourself. So you are giving yourself kindness of heart to others. You are giving yourself kindness of heart to others. It's a gift you give yourself. You are being you, and you let others be them. The third gift is tuning into your intuitive guidance, feeling the foundation that you have, that we all have, to get the answers we need when we need them, the clarity of those answers, for making decisions in life in which we can navigate difficulties and live life with the contentment and the power and the peace that we have inside as a foundation. So let's dive into the first gift, which is giving grace to yourself. Now, we all have in the past, or perhaps currently, we all have wishes that we would have done things differently or we would be different, right? So in the past we thought, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, said that, and that led to this. Or perhaps currently we end up in a muddled mess, we have chaos, emotional chaos inside, and we can't find our way out of that. And we as human beings do rather a strange thing. So when we desire to change something about ourselves, we don't just say, I really want to do that differently, and then get on about our business of doing it differently, of making a change. Instead, we beat ourselves up. We call ourselves names. We tell ourselves we're terrible, horrible, no good, very bad people. And we actually then get stuck in this energy that is name-calling and blaming of ourselves. And then that doesn't feel very good. So then you don't want to visit this topic again. So you just go away from this topic of changing something about yourself that you don't like or that's keeping you stuck. So I'm remembering lots and lots of years ago, when my husband and I were first dating, we were first together, and we were together for a little while, and we started talking about marriage. So we started talking about marriage, and I went, and I stayed that way for years, seized up with fear. I wouldn't even talk about getting married for years. I was afraid I was going to just do a Jekyll and Hyde thing, like when I got married, I was miraculously going to turn into my mother. Now my mother, she has some good traits. She's charming, she's delightful, she's a feisty, fiery little thing. But in that feisty fieriness, she's harsh, brash, judgmental, critical, angry, bitter, resentful, and unhappy. So she divorced, she wasn't happy in her marriage, she was generally unhappy in life, she was unhappy with my stepfather, whom they never married, because I guess she too didn't want to get married, anyway, for the second time. Anyway, so I did not want to all of a sudden turn into my mother. So I had this fear going on. I eventually convinced myself, okay, let's give marriage a whirl. Let me see, can I change this? Can I not be my mother? Can I go about my way and do something different? And so I decided to get married. But I'm still full of fear. So in the drive at the time, Patrick and I were living in the very, I'm directionally impaired, so let me figure this out, the very southwest corner of Wyoming. And we drove to Jackson Hole, the Teton Mountains, where we were getting married. And it was a long drive. And I was so seized with fear that in the 4+ hour drive, I didn't utter one word to him. I just... So, needless to say, over time, I did pay attention to those times after we got married. I didn't miraculously do a Jekyll and Hyde and just turn into my mother, but I had moments in which my mother clearly popped out of me. There were harsh words, there was judgmental, there was frustration, there was anger at Patrick, at the kids, and so clearly there were times when I'm like, oh, whoa. So I noticed, I kind of investigated that a little bit, I shifted, and now, today, I'm not in danger of having so many moments where I'm my mother, but I am still in danger of things I'd like to change because I'm an extroverted person, I'm urgent, I speak before I think, and sometimes that gets me into trouble. So then I have to backtrack and I have to say, okay, I got to figure out how to do that differently. So why is it important to focus on being able to shift and change outside of the fact that you might be happier? So if that's not enough of a reason, let's dive into a couple of really good reasons. And science shows us that whenever we have an emotion, our body makes molecules to match that emotion. You've heard of like oxytocin, which is what they consider the love molecule. You've heard of adrenaline, that when you're frightened and you got to get out of a situation in danger, your adrenaline pumps up. Those are molecules of emotions. And every emotion that you have, your body creates molecules that match that emotion. They each have their own unique wave pattern and each have their own unique frequency. So what you want to be able to do in shifting and making a change is to be able to connect with your intuitive wise guidance, which the way you do that is by being in emotions that create a wave pattern that is smooth and calm and an evenly spaced wave pattern, and emotions of kindness and love and caring to yourself, or kindness of heart to others, creates automatically, they all have a family and they all look similar to this smooth, even wave. As opposed to when you're my mother and she's in her jaggedy, sharp, angry, harsh place, your emotion waves look the way they feel. They're jagged and sharp and chaotic, and that is not a peaceful place in which you can access your intuitive, wise guidance. So now let's go on to gift number 2. So in gift number 1, your reason for being able to and wanting to shift and give loving kindness to yourself is that you will be able then to be happier, calmer, more peaceful, and you'll have the confidence and be able to access the guidance you want for your life. So now let's go on to gift number 2, which is giving grace to others. That's a kindness of heart to others. Now we're kind of funny in that we do the exact same thing to others that we do to ourselves. When something is going on that you don't like, they disagree, you disagree with them, you don't at all in keeping with the way their way of going is. You do to them what you do to yourself, which is you blame them, you label them, you tell them that they're no good in your head, and you have all kinds of words for them. And don't you form an argument in your head with them, right? Can you hear your arguments? You have a whole argument going on in your head. Woo! And do you know that you win that argument in your head, right? You have said the perfect thing, absolutely. And then in your mind, you see them miraculously change. You have convinced them to think and feel and do it differently because in your mind you said the perfect right thing and they have changed their way of going. Well, then you think, okay, yay, we can let that go, right? We won. But we don't let that go, do we? Because we didn't really win, right? We didn't really have a conversation in which we put forth our thoughts and the other person said, oh, I love that, and they just changed their thoughts. That just so didn't happen. So you keep it going, right? It just goes and goes and goes. So your goal is to move into a place of being, and not judging. You are you. You are being you. And you are allowing them to be themselves. So you have a kindness of heart towards yourself, allowing yourself to be yourself. And a kindness of heart to them and allowing them to be them. Now, Susan Breed over here is a wonderful example of this, so I'm just going to call her out. And years ago, she did this wonderfully. So years ago, she is talking to me and she is encouraging me to have Patrick take a couple of horses. So she's trying to downsize, right? So she's downsizing. She wants to get rid of a couple of horses. She thinks that our home, our pastures with horses, is going to be a great home for her horses. And she's encouraging me to talk to Patrick about this and to make this thing a thing that happens. So I'm talking to her and I'm like, you know, I'm not so all on board on that. He's got a lot to do. I can't imagine that he's going to have time to add more horses. We already have a lot. He's busy. He doesn't seem to have time to keep up with what we have. So I'm not thinking that's such a great idea. Well, now, she's not liking that. So what does she say? She just says calmly and kindly, she just says, well, you're not preaching to the choir on that. And she says it very nicely. She says it with a smile on her face, right? She's very kind. She just is saying her truth. She's being who she is. And she's just saying, well, you're not preaching to the choir on that. And do you not know that she's a very good convincer? Because indeed, Patrick took the horses, they came to our place, we had a very lovely few years with them. They're wonderful horses. They now have a little different home that's where they get to be put to use with some handicapped people that get to ride them and enjoy them. But we had a wonderful time. So indeed, she got her way because she's kind and she said things in a very respectful way and she says things in a way that works. So your goal is to be kind and respectful in what you say. Now, is it good enough to just say things in a kind and respectful way? I'll bet not. Because remember those emotion molecules, right? Those emotion molecules. So when you feel kindness towards yourself for just being you, you can settle into being you with the values you have, the morals you have, the thoughts you have about the way that would be good to proceed with things. And when you feel that settlement into you just being you, and you allow yourself and extend kindness to others to allow them to just be themselves. Remember those kindness waves. They're smooth and they're even. And it's your access. They sync with similar energy waves from your intuitive guidance. And then those waves are all in sync and you can access this wise guidance that you need for getting along in life. So, okay, here's another example, Miss Mickey. Okay, so Miss Mickey, she has a mother who is almost 104, okay? And Mickey extends such grace to her mother because her mother and Mickey and her mother have had the exact opposite viewpoints for all their lives politically. So they are not at all anywhere in sync together. And Mickey goes and cares for her mother and she's kind to her mother, and you would say, well, of course, because she's her mother's daughter and she needs to take care of her, so that's of course. But what Mickey does is she gives the kindness to her mother by not making her mother bad in her mind or in conversation. She just releases that difference that they have. She lets her mother be her mother, and Mickey just settles into being herself.
You weren't there last week.
Mickey says that I wasn't there last week. Okay, well, she may have had her moments, much like, I have my moments, but then what does she do? She revisits it. Okay, so I'm going to say, though, that all this kindness, and she's doing great, except for when she didn't last week when she was with her mother. But do you know, she gets home, and she can be the most spitfire mad woman you have ever seen with somebody that holds the exact same views as her mother. So she gives grace to her mother, and she gets home and somebody says a similar political view as her mother, and Miss Mickey, she's just in there. And she'll tell you every reason why that person is wrong, and the argument not only stays in her head, but the argument comes out of her mouth, and the peacefulness disappears, and she's a ball of fire. Okay.
Did not know about you. I knew.
Okay, so let's go on to gift number 3, because I want to answer the question, is it okay to be a spitfire mad? Is it okay when I've been talking about these waves of energy that are calm and smooth, and when you're angry and you're upset and you've got anxiety or worry or bitterness, those are jagged waves of energy. You can't access your intuitive guidance that way, right? So gift number 3 is you access your intuitive guidance, because that wise inner self is energy that we all have, and we are communicating in this shared energy field, and we have access to this wise guidance. And we access it by having emotions that create calm, smooth, even waves of energy. Our guidance speaks to us in the same way. It speaks to us with an emotional feeling that is calm and peaceful, and you feel the excitement and the energy of knowing what's right for you, but it's in a peaceful way. So your guidance is getting in sync, and when you get in sync and you feel the clear knowing Just remember a time in your life when you felt like, ah, and you knew that was right for you. And you felt it in your gut. And you felt a peaceful feeling, and maybe it was also an excited feeling. And that is because when you're in sync with your intuitive guidance, it has a spark of 4 times more amplitude of energy wave when it is in sync and you are in touch with that guidance. So that is a spark of recognition, of resonance, a ping of knowing of what is right for you. You can rely on it. You can cultivate it. You can have quiet time, and you can begin to really recognize that within yourself so you can use it for whatever you need. Now, so let's go back. Can Mickey stay in some Spitfire mad place? Can she do that?
No comment.
Ah. So that depends. That depends. It depends. Is her Spitfire mad place making an enemy of the other person? Is she blaming and calling names in her head to the other person? Is she having a fight in her head with the other person? So if she is, then no, probably she's not going to be able to rely on the decisions she makes during those times because it's jagged energy. She's not going to feel confident that the decision she's making about what she's going to do comes from a place of groundedness. So instead, she can be Spitfire mad and fired up when she's taken herself and the desires for what she wants to have different into her quiet time, and she's clear about how it is for her to proceed. Now bring all that fireball energy right to it. You're clear about how to proceed. You are proceeding based on your own purpose and your own passion. And that is your strength. So I'm just going to review and remind you of your 3 gifts. The gift number 1 is where you give yourself grace. Watch yourself with wonder. Watch that you can wonder, you can see and wonder, well, what triggered me to act and say something I wish I hadn't done? What triggered me to get all emotionally chaotic? So wonder about that. Watch yourself with wonder that you have the ability to shift and change and do things differently. And watch yourself with wonder. Be kind to yourself as you go through that process, access your intuitive guidance, and you're able to navigate life with the wisdom and the clarity that you need. So number 2 is giving grace to others. Within yourself, you give yourself kindness of heart to others. You are being with yourself. You're not judging. So you're moving into being, not judging. You are yourself. You be yourself, and you allow others to be themselves. And number 3 is you tap into your intuitive guidance. Allow yourself to cultivate the skill for when you know you're getting the answers that you need, because you can. You can get the answers that you need whenever you need them for living life peacefully, joyfully, purposefully. And that is your gift from your intuitive guidance that you have access to always. So what I'd like to do is take a few minutes and do a guided meditation. And after the meditation, we'll have a couple of minutes for some questions and answers and discussion just on this topic. Your coffee talk, where there's deeper discussions with each other, will happen during the meal together. So for now, let's settle into our chairs. And we allow ourselves a breath. And as we breathe, we fill our cavity, our chest-lung cavity, with that breath. Feel it fill all the way up. Feel your air and your breath go into your abdominal cavity. Feel that breath go all the way down your legs and into the floor. As you're aware of your breath, allow that breath to settle into you, into the beingness of you. Appreciation for who you are, the values you hold, the morals you hold, the friendships and the love you've created in your life because you're you. So the beingness of you, and breathe into that beingness. And now breathe into the recognition and feel your breath leave you. Feel your breath mix with the air that we're all sharing here in the room. Know that your air, among other things, your emotion, energy waves, some gas that you expel, all of that gets mixed up and is shared for long distances, not only just in this room, but at very far distances. So feel your breath going out and coming in exchange with the energy of community, in exchange with the energy of others. And now, as you're settled with the beingness in yourself of kindness, you're aware of your connectedness to others. Give yourself some gratitude and thanks that you have access to shared energy and to wise energy within yourself, intuitive guidance. That's always available to you. A foundation for making wise decisions, being clear on how to proceed. Feel grateful for that foundation within you and breathe the life into that foundation within you. And as we're quiet for the next minute, breathe into all three areas: being, community, and the foundation of clarity. Breathe life into all those areas. And now bring your presence back to the room. And open your eyes when you're ready. And now we have a few minutes where we can have some questions, thoughts, discussion on this topic, and know that you have time for deeper, more personal sharing during coffee time a little bit later during the meal. But for now, we have a few minutes to hear your thoughts and questions.
You had mentioned, or Doug had mentioned that you have received a number of honors and awards for your book. What were they?
So Joe is asking the awards that I received from my book, and I'm repeating the question so that people online can hear it. So let's see, I won the Nautilus Award, Civil Nautilus Award. I was very pleased to win that award. I was in keeping with very high ranking authors so it was a very prestigious award, and I won that award. I also won the Gold International Books Award for Science, for the category of science. So I was the top winner in the science category for the International Book Awards.
What is Nautilus?
Nautilus is a Better Books for a Better World, and it's a very famous award, and lots of famous authors, Deepak Chopra and Greg Braden, have applied and won that award, so I felt in such wonderful good company when I won that award. Yes, thank you for asking that. And I think that my sister Linda is here. I'm very pleased. So Linda, you had a question?
So what would be the fastest way to change the trajectory from jagged edges to the smooth and easy path?
Shift into anything that makes you a little bit happier in the moment. So shift into anything and notice the shift. and allow yourself some calm in the shift of anything that moves you into a little bit happier place. Oh, did I repeat that question? I'm sorry. I didn't repeat the question. She asked, okay, so now you have the answer before the question if you're online. So she asked the question of what is the fastest way to shift from the jaggedy energy and out of that jagged energy. And that's when I shared, shift to anything that makes you a little bit happier and notice that change within yourself.
Can you give an example of that?
Okay, so you have an argument in your head, right? And what if you had an argument in your head, you want to win that argument, which isn't actually going to make any difference. But if you allow somebody else to just be them, and you just shift to a thought that just says, well, I'm me, and they're not them. I'm not them. I don't have the same values. I don't have the same ideas for how to get along in the world. That calms you. Just that one little shift that I'm not them. I'm me. So that would be an idea if that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, if you're trying, if an example, again, because I forgot to repeat the question. I'm not very good at that, remembering to repeat the question. So he asked, what is an example of making that shift? And so there's lots of ways. Yes, Miss Susan.
Yeah, Rita Marie Johnson, Sherry's sister, you're aware of her?
Yes, yes.
She gives an example all the time that works for me. And when she's asking for that shift, at the beginning of meditation or whenever you need that shift, she says, think of something, bring something to mind that gives you complete appreciation. It could be a favorite pet, something you just love unconditionally. It could be a favorite grandbaby. It could be that special place that you go in your mind when you want calm. But those are three good examples, all of which I found work for me.
So she was saying that Rita Marie Johnson, who is started a foundation called the Razur Foundation, and it's a peace connection, a peace practice within yourself that you extend to others. And her practice is to be able to hold in your heart space anything that brings you a sense of appreciation, whether that be a pet or a loved one or anything in your life that puts a little smile on your face of appreciation. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and Rita Marie's own example for her, she always thought of her little white dog.
Yeah, so Rita Marie used her own little white dog as an example for herself. Yes. Okay, yes.
Intuitive clarity under stress. Not likely, possible?
Oh, hugely. Okay, so he was asking, is intuitive clarity when you're under stress possible, or is it just an illusion? You might as well let it go. It is entirely possible. Now, what you need to do is actually get practiced at what your intuitive guidance feels like for you. So I can recall a time in which I was well practiced with what my intuitive guidance feels like for me, and I was in a very difficult situation with my son, and I was chaotic inside. I didn't know what to do. And all of the things, all ideas that I had in my head, because when we don't know what to do? We create ideas. We go to our head to figure out what it is that's the best way to proceed. So I did. And I couldn't get any of my intuitive guidance clarity. I just kept roiling around in my head with these ideas. Now, your intuitive guidance will come to you in multiple ways. You will begin to feel it within yourself as a peaceful, clear knowing in some part of your body. So get familiar with it, whether your clear knowing is in your heart, whether it's in your gut. Get familiar with yourself, how you know your intuitive guidance. It also can come to you when you have that feeling as a result of a conversation with somebody, as the result of listening to some music and something resonates with you, as the result of reading something, an idea, a conversation that somebody's given you an idea, and So that's what happened with me when I was in total chaos about my son. And I thought, well, I haven't told my daughter what happened yet. I better call her and tell her. She needs to know. And so I was telling her, and I was telling her the ideas in my head, and she had a very different idea. And as soon as she said her idea, I was like, oh, that's it. I was in resonance with what she said. So your intuitive guidance, allow it to come to you in multiple forms and be open to how your intuitive guidance comes to you. And it will come to you in the most difficult times in your life, And you will feel a quiet resonance of truth within you. And that is most important to you in the times of intense stress. So cultivate it in your quiet times, and then it'll be easier to recognize when you are receiving it in your times of stress. So now that is the end. Thank you for all those great questions, and that's the end of our time today. And I think Doug is coming up now.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.